I would really like to thank all of you for participating in this wonderful twin workshop. We've been pretty
Double workshop.
Now, it started with a situation where half of the people we asked for participation were available in one time slot and the others in the other. And so finally, we decided we wanted to be inclusive. And the only way to be inclusive was basically to have two workshops. And then eventually we decided to call them twin workshops, also because partially it's about digital twins. So it kind of had a double meaning. And it turns out that for the second event, there were a lot of last-minute cancellations. That means the twin is not doing so good, not as good as we expected as compared to the reality we had in mind. Perhaps that has something to tell us. Now, of course, you're all waiting for an Albert Einstein quote, and here's one. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that created them. And so now we have a new approach, which is the digital twin approach. And again, it creates new problems, obviously. And among them, it's that we may get trapped in something that could be called the digital matrix. You know, Elon Musk, again, that's the person that was missing basically in all our talks, I guess. He has been warning us of the possibility that we could be living in a simulation. And perhaps we haven't always done so, but we may end up living in a simulation, as we now see, with all those digital twins interfering with our daily lives, increasingly so. And he's been warning of the matrix. I think he was not very explicit because it was basically perhaps something like a military secret at that time, but at least he made us aware of those issues that were in the air. And now we have to talk about it because it doesn't work as well as they hoped. In fact, the entire issue is that we engage in a data-driven world, AI controlled, as they're now trying to do that, basically. We know that what AI is doing is based on previous data. That means, in a sense, it continues the old world, while we know that the solutions of the past don't work for our future. That's why we talk about an unsustainable world. And unsustainable basically means it's not future-proof. The only one thing that we really know about the future is that it will be different from the past. The current system won't be around much longer because it's not sustainable. But here AI is not necessarily going to help us because it's restricted to the data of the past, while apparently we need an entirely new solution and approach. And perhaps that's why we should think another time about a very old quote, which is actually from the Bible, Exodus 24. It's part of the heritage that Jews, Christians, and Muslims share. And it says, "You shall not make yourself an image of God or the heavens or earth or waters," oceans, I guess. And perhaps the question is, what does that tell us in modern times? And perhaps we should not try to create a too detailed picture of the world because it would be restricting ourselves too much. It would eliminate all the freedoms that we need to be creative and innovative and co-create, in fact, the future. And that is something that perhaps we need to think about. How do we get back freedom in that data-driven world? And the twin term is actually aiming to create a digital duplica as realistic as possible, as identical as possible, to the extent that some people would think, okay, we could actually replace physical human beings by a digital representative. Some people want to learn how to upload brain content to the cloud. And they have this idea that in principle, we could live without a body as a digital being. So the digital twin would basically eventually replace us. And that is an idea that some people would relate to transcendence, but I think it may be a terrible misinterpretation, may end as the biggest disaster of human history altogether. So I would really caution to go into this direction. And that's why we need to have a discussion about the opportunities and threats and limitations of digital twins and smart cities and societies. And that's what we had over here. I very much enjoyed the discussion. Let's keep it going. I'd like to see many nice papers for our special issue. Andre will be managing it largely, but I'm pretty sure that will be not only the summary of what we have discussed in these days, but also it will be the start of a new discussion. That's the opportunity that we wanted to create. And I hope you enjoyed as well. Please be back soon.